I am KITT, the computer controls of this indestructible vehicle. I am programmed to avoid accidents. Unfortunately, you are not. This year, you may become one of the millions who will be killed or injured in an automobile accident. Unless you take either of these two precautionary measures. Buckle your safety belt. Or don't even bother getting in your car. Buckle up. Your life is in your hands.
Production 57826, Race for Life. This episode was written by Bruce Belland and Roy M. Rogeson. It was directed by George Fenady. It originally aired on NBC February 5th, 1984, which was a Sunday at 8 p.m. It was filmed December 8th through the 16th of 1983. It was the 36th episode to air, but the 37th to be produced. This episode actually had an early working title of Short Notice. As you might remember, Short Notice was an actual produced episode at the end of Season 1, which is probably why they changed the title of this one. At some point they realized, hey, we already have an episode named Short Notice, we need a new title. So they changed it to Race for Life. The synopsis reads as follows. It's a race against time as Michael and K.I.T.T must search Los Angeles for a suitable donor match for April's ailing niece. With all that said, let's go ahead and dig in. And we're going to start with the title of this episode, Race for Life. So this episode aired in early 1984, as we said. And what you may or may not know is in late 1985, David Hasselhoff became partners with indie racing car team owner, I'm going to screw up this name, at Groeneveld? Sure. And they formed the Race for Life racing team. And this team supported 3 of David's favorite charities of the time that benefit chronically ill and disadvantaged children. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Starlight Foundation, and the National Burn Foundation for Children. And they even went so far as to create some merchandise, things such as this racing car. So we see here the David Hasselhoff Race for Life racing team toy Indy car. So they created that. And then there was also different things like posters. This is a concept drawing for a racing semi that would house the truck. So it was, quite popular at the time. And obviously some of the foundations, like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, they're still around today. I don't know if this Race for Life racing team collaboration with Hasselhoff and Groeneveld is still around. My guess is probably not, but, I'd like to think that the name of that racing team was somewhat influenced by the name of this episode. All right, moving on. This is one of the extremely rare times in the series that KITT drives in the rain, that they filmed in the rain. And this wasn't just stock footage, this was actually filmed for this episode, and you can see a lot of the interior driving scenes that KITT's windows are wet. It's very rare. I think we see it raining in Halloween Night, and we see it raining in Nobody Does It Better, Chariot of Gold. So peppered, like once or twice a season, we've got a rainy episode, and this was Knight Rider's rainy episode in the second season. Okay. By the way, this is the hardtop stunt car, one of the train wreck cars that premiered. Was it in Whitebird? I think it was in Whitebird. So for those of you curious about what cars they used in this episode, they're still kind of like what we talked about in the last episode that we covered. They've settled into about 4 cars. Now in this episode, they actually use 5 different cars. We've got this hardtop stunt car. We've got the insert car for all the insert scenes. We've got the hero car. We've got the left-hand blind drive car. And then we have what at this point is a general purpose stunt car. But in season 3, it will actually become the season 3 and 4 hero car. But as of right now, it's just kind of one of their backup cars. And not to skip ahead, but just to give you an idea, this is the car that's used in this episode just as one of their other backup cars, but would become the season 3-4 hero car. So we have April at the gym and spa here. And if we move forward ahead, we can kind of get an idea of where this building is. So if we look in the background here, you see what I think is the Black Tower of Universal Studios. So I'm thinking this was right across the street from Universal, but let's check it out. So if we look at today, so we've got here the Black Tower, and we've got what I think is the Universal Sheraton Hotel. So if we look at it today, so there's the Black Tower, there's the Sheraton Hotel. So it's kind of hard to see. This might have all been redeveloped. It might have been over here, or it might have been up here a ways, but I don't think this is still here any longer. Those of you familiar with this area, or any of you guys that watch that used to work at the studio and recognize this location, let us know in the comments down below, but I think this is unfortunately all gone today. This, however, is not gone today, this location, and I always thought this was such a unique location with all the trees on the different levels. This is clearly at Universal Studios. We see the Black Tower here off to the right. There's obviously a sign for City Center Hospital, but it is actually not a hospital. But let's take a look at this today. So unfortunately, this is about the best view we can get on it through Google Maps. But you can see here, the trees are still there, the stepped pattern is there, and I think looking at it from above, it's right here. So it's listing it as the Universal Studios Youth Association and the Universal Studios Credit Union. So, but there it is right there, right by the Black Tower right here. April and Michael are heading over and they walk off camera, and you get a quick blink and you'll miss it look at the famous red Camaro that has popped up on occasion throughout the end of the first season, beginning of the second season. There it is there. And we also get another look at this yellow Volkswagen Rabbit, which we saw in the previous episode, right? So this might be our next AMC Gremlin, that we were seeing in season 1. So there's the Rabbit and there's the Camaro. So then we move inside of KITT. Michael has requested Becky's file, and they run it through KITT's systems to be able to interface with Irma, the medical database computer. And, interesting to look and see what her medical file includes. So we've got information here. It looks like it's all dated 1981, August 23rd, August 21st. 1981 maybe, but then it goes to 60 and 1951. I don't know, maybe not. But Big 5 Sporting Goods, Framing Company, something supply. So clearly not a medical record, and obviously we were never meant to stop and take a look at it, but still a nice little Easter egg here. All right, moving forward, we are inside of the insert car. Here, we can tell by the chrome coat hooks. The car still has these chrome coat hooks today. It still has this exact same overhead console today. So what I want to do is take a little sidebar here, because I think you guys will appreciate this. Back in 2017, September of 2017, we took this console temporarily out of the car. So in the intervening years between when the show was canceled and when we got the car, these side buttons were pretty much, they were all missing, and they were replaced with inaccurate side buttons. They were these little square buttons with an LED. And we wanted to replace them with the correct buttons. So we took the console down, and we discovered some really interesting things about how the console was built and how it was made. So we're going to take a little sidebar here, and I'm going to show you the video that we shot back in 2017 showing you the construction of this specific overhead console. Enjoy, and I'll see you back here in a minute. And let me tell you, this is the beefiest console I've ever seen. So I am 100% sure that this is the original console going back to season 2 for the insert car. I mean, you know how it has the buttons that push. These were all added by Carl Casper. These were added by Carl Casper. The original buttons were just glued on there with the lights working, and they they got broken off. They got broken off in season 2. You can see some of them are missing. But oddly enough, when I was going through the bin of parts that Tim Russo saved, there were some of the bases of some of these original switches, not the style from season 2. So they're probably the original switches. But this is what's really neat about this. So if I flip this over, take a look at this. This thing, by the way, weighs, I don't know, 6-7 pounds. I mean, it's heavy. And most of the reason it's heavy is because of this. There's a metal plate fiberglassed into the back, and I have no idea why, with 2 holes right here. So no clue about that. Arrow. This looks like some updated wiring. I don't know if that was Tim or Carl, probably Tim. But this is pretty neat, the way they put these buttons in. So the buttons, there's this plastic plate on top of all the buttons and the stem from each one of the buttons. And none of this is glued in. This is all loose. And then there's this plate here. It's bolted into the console, and there's 2 rubber bushings here that allow you to press on the buttons, and it gives a little bit and then pops them back. It's actually pretty neat. There's also this thing right here. I'm not sure what it is. It's got some bumps on it, but it's metal and it's fiberglassed in. I have no clue what that would be. A mount for something, I'm sure. But, so there you go. All right. Moving forward, we've got Michael and K.I.T. on the hunt for Julio Rodriguez. And we see here, this is the hero car. And the reason I point this out is, and I mentioned this in our last commentary we did on White Line Warriors, about how the fog light grills were not long for the world. And in fact, this is the first episode where we see the hero car without the fog grills in place. So if you remember back in White Line Warriors, we saw them. We saw K.I.T. at night driving the hero car with the fog light grills. It just didn't look good. So, they removed them. So from here on, throughout the rest of the series, K.I.T. no longer has grills covering his fog lights on the hero car. There's still the insert car, and a couple other cars still have the fog light grills, but those would be phased out at the beginning of season 3, and then all the cars would just have their fog lights visible without the grills covering them. But this is the first time we see the hero car without the fog light grills. All right, so then we move forward, and Michael's pulling into Taco. It's supposed to be Taco Bravo, but this actually says Taco Brabs. Taco Bravo. I just noticed that. That's interesting, because if we look forward, we can see the wall in the back says Taco Bravo. What I'm wondering is this actually, or was this actually a Taco Bravo, and the production team changed it to Taco Bravo, but they forgot to change the information back here. So regardless, let's take a look and see if this location is still there today. And it is 3500 North Broadway in Los Angeles. So we can see even this building's still the same with the door on the angle here. And this is the taco place, now Little Rodeo, tacos and burgers still. But if we go back to here and we move forward, so let's see this wall back here in this house. What's this look like? So there it is. There's that house. Obviously, all the shrubs and everything are overgrown. The wall that's back there is covered in bushes, but same location, still there today. So we have Santos and his crew trying to break into K.I.T. at the taco place. And this is an insert shot of them trying to pop open the T-top. And just a couple interesting things to point out. So we can see this isn't the hero car. We see the shadow of a stunt wheel right here, right, with 3 holes. So this has a round stunt wheel. We can actually even see a seatbelt, a factory Trans Am seatbelt just laying down there. And we see there's no center console, but there are window switches right here. So it reveals a few little details about this car, which is kind of neat. And then we have Michael peeling out and driving away, and just look at the crowd here. Came out to watch the filming. Not nearly as big as the crowd that we see in Silent Night, right, in downtown Covina, but still have a crowd here watching the filming nonetheless. And while we're on the topic of finding filming locations, let's see if we can find this one. This is the scene where Michael pulls up, stops, buys some licorice, and baits Santos into getting into KITT. So once again, we've got another crowd of people back here watching the filming, which is really cool. But let's see what this looks like today. Here it is today. Doesn't look quite as good. And this is one of those locations where you kind of have to analyze it to make sure it is the right one. So right inside of here, this is actually where the licorice stand was. So when you watch the episode, you don't realize there's actually a whole nother wall right here. But if we go back to here, and also see this sign right here, that sign is this sign. It's still there today. Obviously, the actual wording on here has changed. It's been painted, but that's the same sign. So KITT pulls up right here and gets out, and Michael goes over to get licorice right here from the stand. So the reason they filmed from this angle is right here on this edge is actually another wall. But you can see here there's this roll-up door, and you can see the chain and the sprockets right here and the bulkhead to hold the roll-up door. If we go back over here and zoom in, there it is right there. There's that bulkhead, and there's the sprocket and gear. So the ice box was right here, and then the sign actually covered this window. This sign right here, you can even see the window right here behind it. They hung that sign over there to cover it. But that's the location still kicking today, I suppose. So we have Michael here with the licorice, and if you look up top here, we can see we're missing some of the overhead console buttons. That's fine, whatever. This is also one of the extremely rare times that Michael rides in the passenger seat. He does in the pilot, and he does in Soul Survivor, and he does here. And maybe, is that all? That might be all. All right, so now we move ahead. We're now at the location of the church, and like I said, this is now that 5th car. This is the car that would become the hero car in season 3, and we can see here that it still has fog light grills and a tow bar. So then they move forward, and they're at the Sacred Heart Church. So let's go ahead and take a look at this today. So there it is today, looking pretty much identical to how it looked back then. In fact, it looks identical, even down to the bolts right here. See them running across there? So then we move forward here, and this is now the left-hand blind drive car. We can tell that because you can see the bulk in the seat. You can also see that they propped up the passenger seat just to make them a little bit more even, but really both these seats are sitting way too high. We see the ill-fitting overhead console, the drooping front nose. We still see it has a tow bar, but notice not only does it not have fog light grills, it doesn't even have fog lights in there. This piece you see, this metal piece, is actually the factory Trans Am impact bar. So we move forward, and KITT's coming to their rescue in the alley behind the church. So if we just go around the church here, right to here. Is it going to let me go down the alley? Oh, sure it is. We'll go down a little further and turn around. So there's the alley right there. So that looks identical. Nothing's changed, right? So Michael and Julio come out of this door here, which is still there, except it's closed. So that's pretty cool. Still all the same. So then when KITT was pulling up, obviously that was the left-hand blind drive car. But now during this close-up, we moved, and now we're at the hardtop stunt car. And then we get this great point of view shot. Now we're inside the hero car. So we get this great point of view shot with the van coming around the corner to block them in the front. And let's just see. So there's that garage. So so you can see the garage door right here. We can see some fencing, an opening, some more fencing, and then the van comes around the corner. So right here. So the van came through this parking lot and cut them off right there. Yeah, there we go. And we can still see this is the hero car if you look through the windshield here, or the rear hatch. And then we move to the Jack Sessum's miniatures. Clearly miniature work here. Not bad, but clearly miniature work. So if we compare, let's just look at the van. So we've got a GMC van, we've got a single headlight, marker underneath, chrome bumper, and how'd they do? Hey, he did pretty good for creating a model. Look at that. I think on 1984 era small CRT TVs, you might not know the difference. And a couple things to note in this fantastic still shot. First of all, I just love the turbo boost face. And I should do a whole video just on the turbo boost face. I'm going to do that. Stay tuned for that. But we get this great face, and we get Mario, who played Julio here. Just look at that. He just looks frightened out of his mind. But I don't point it out for that. This is the hero car, and we've got a white wire right there. There's your white wire for today. So now you can enjoy the rest of your day and not worry about that. Moving on. So we're back to the models now, and we have the KITT Sessum's model jumping over the van. And I always thought this was interesting because it doesn't clear the van. The back of KITT actually hits the van, but whatever. And they actually incorporated that into the sound effects of the episode. So if you watch this, when KITT turbo boosts and he hits that, they actually added a sound effect for him hitting the van like it was on purpose. So Michael, it's raining again. Michael's pulling up to the roadblock. Here's your yellow Volkswagen Rabbit, once again making another appearance. There it is from behind. So Michael gets out and talks to the police officer, and police officer looks extremely mad. If you watch his face after this scene, he looks really mad that Michael's bothering him. But anyways, in the background here, we've got Jack Gill. Just has a blink and you'll miss a cameo of him getting in this car. So we move forward after Julio finds the auto roof right button. You'd think KITT could just override that so he couldn't press it and open it, but whatever. But what I wanted to point out here was, if you look real close, you see, so the edge of the T-tops are rubber and rubber weather stripping. So you can look right here in the middle. They actually have a piece of fishing line tied to the center of the T-top, and you can see it's bending the plastic down. And that fishing line went right up here off camera to some kind of a crane or something that's holding the T-top open. That's how they did it in this scene. All right, moving forward, we've got KITT in his full police mode. A lot of people have asked me how they did this, and you know the answer is, well, first of all, this is the left-hand blind drive car. They only converted the left-hand blind drive car to this setup, but they simply added a headlight flasher unit, similar to what they would have added in police cars of the day. They added a headlight flasher unit to the circuitry of the headlights in this car, and then they put a red film and a blue film on the alternate headlights and went at it. And that's as simple as it is. We never see this again. In Night of the Chameleon, we see KITT flashing his fog lights, but we don't see the headlights like this. So this is a one-time only KITT function. But you can see here we move forward, and there's kind of a better look at the film they put over the headlight right there. And there we go. So here we've got the driver's side flasher on. There we've got the other flasher on right there. But again, all the same car, the left-hand blind drive car. And by the way, something to point out, between the scene back at the church where we saw the left-hand blind drive car and between now, they've added the fog lights to the car. So this car had fog lights. It didn't for that one scene that earlier in this episode at the church, but now it has them again. And it's definitely 100% the same car. You know, it wasn't a different car. So the fog lights were removed for some reason. My guess is they removed because in the previous episode, the left-hand blind drive car had grills over the fog lights. So, but here, the grills were gone, and then the fog lights were gone for a while, and then the fog lights were back. So maybe during that transition when they were getting rid of the fog lights, they were doing it during the filming of this episode, and they removed the fog lights too. I don't know, but the fog lights have returned, and they'll be there the rest of the series. Okay, so here we go. Compare this to White Line Warriors when we see the hero car with the fog lights on behind the fog light grills, and compare it to this, and this looks so much better. Okay, I'm done talking about fog light grills. You get it. Let's move on. All right, so Michael, this is right before he turbo boosts onto the train track, and this is one of the only times that you see the Pontiac symbol on the gear shifter. Usually it's covered, but here it's not. And the only other time we see the Pontiac arrowhead on top of the gear shifter is when KITT's driving by himself in the first season finale, Short Notice. You'll see it too. So just these two locations. So don't know why, but it would get covered here right after this. All right, so this whole scene, notice how the angle that they're filming in has changed, right? They made it so you can't see out of any of the side or the back windows. And that's because this is one of the rare times where they filmed insert shots on a soundstage and not actually out on the road. And I think they did that because of the way the story dictated, the dark and stormy weather, the train tracks in the background. It was easier for them to just film it from this angle so they didn't have to recreate that background. It was probably cheaper too. So after KITT turbo boosts onto the tracks, we see this. This is, of course, a model shot. This was filmed at the Sessoms and Slagle Ranch. Jack Sessoms, who was responsible for all the miniature work, was an avid model railroad builder. So this would have been part of his giant railroad at his ranch. And then you see this close-up shot of the scanner working. They only had, from my understanding, there was only one model that they built that actually had working lights, a working scanner and working fog lights. And that model is still around today. It's in a private collection. All right, so we've made it through this entire episode, and we haven't talked about Robyn Lively, who played Becky. So she did obviously a fantastic job in this episode. She was actually nominated in 1985 for a Young Artist Award, the Best Young Actress Guest Star in a Television Series, for her role in this episode. She didn't win, but she was still nominated, which was really cool. And just a couple of weeks ago on Robyn Lively's Instagram page, she actually posted a couple pictures. So when the show ended, she was gifted a crew jacket by the cast and crew. And she said it was the coolest gift she ever got from guest starring on a series. And she still has it today. And she actually wore it. So there she is a couple weeks ago wearing her Knight Rider crew jacket, which I think is just really, really cool that she still has it today. And she said she had just an absolutely fantastic time on the show. All right, and one last time, we've got the left-hand blind drive car pulling up and about to flash lights and everything. Now, you'll notice I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about Fog Light Girls one last time. The Fog Light Girls are back, right? Why are they back? Obviously, this was the episode for the transition for the left-hand blind drive car from going from Fog Light Girls to no Fog Light Girls. As you can see in this scene, which chances are this scene was probably filmed during the first or second day of shooting, and they still had the grills in place. Then throughout the course of the week when they were filming this episode, they removed the grills. All right, I promise I'm done talking about the grills. So moving forward, here's the left-hand blind drive car. You can see KITT hits a bump here, and the door kind of juggles open. You can tell here the door is open, which is going to make this next scene easier when KITT's opening and closing his doors. And we see the flasher unit in place, but or working, but they've removed the gels over the headlights. And you also see KITT's scanner go from a nice pattern to like a scared all-on pattern. And all they're simply doing is jacking up the potentiometer on the scanner to make it go as fast as they can. Then they're dialing it back down. Then they're dialing back up, back down. We could recreate that on our car, thanks to the wonderful scanner circuitry we have in there. So then we get this scene at the very end of the episode, and then we see this dedication. This Knight Rider is dedicated to the memory of Marcel Raphael Marcellano, who died while his father Mario was filming this episode. Mario played the role of Julio. So, a number of years ago, we talked to Mario Marcellano, who played Julio. Here he is. This was a press shot he gave us at the time. And we asked him about this because we always wondered, as a kid, I saw this. I'm like, well, what happened, right? We never knew what happened. So here's what he told us at the time. Nobody on the set knew that at the time that my 2.5-year-old son was very sick with hydrocephalus and seizures. He had been through 2 shunting operations. Everyone in the cast and crew were so thoughtful to me, he said. They, along with David Hasselhoff, made donations. I asked for donations to go to a children's hospital that cares for sick children. People sometimes think negatively of the cast and crew of TV shows in Hollywood, but I found them to be very generous, kind, compassionate, and understanding. Their dedication to my son will remain as one of the wonderful gestures toward me in my career. I will always give thanks to David and George Fenedy, the director, for their kindness. And also, while we're talking about Mario, he was also friends outside of this episode with Jesse Aragon, who played Santos. They became friends. They were always on the same audition. Unfortunately, years after this episode, he was killed in a tragic motorcycle accident by a truck driver. So there's another, I guess there's a couple sad stories that go with this. But the neat thing is, when we talked to Mario, he also shared all his wonderful stories as well. And he shared some really cool behind-the-scenes photos that were taken. So here's one with the crew here, the Conquerors, and there's another picture right there with the whole crew. And then he shared this photo as well of, again, Jesse Aragon Santos himself with Hasselhoff between takes. So pretty cool guy to talk to. Okay, well, we have successfully covered Race for Life. What'd you guys think? This was always a pretty cool episode. I always liked this episode. All right, so next time we're going to dig into another fantastic episode, Speed Demons. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right, since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.